Okay, so in this video we're going to be looking at the new lighting and rendering options available in Vectorworks 2023. Now we've got unlimited support for lighting now. It used to be a limit of 8 lights in shaded mode, but it's unlimited now, you'll be amazed. And we've also got some fantastic new options in the shaded for things like environmental and object-based reflections, which make a massive difference to the way you present and work and walk through your designs with your clients. So as you know, I love rendering Vectorworks, but now with 2023, it's even better than ever. So enjoy the video. I just want to talk about a project I did in collaboration with Fruition Design down in Torquay. It's a really interesting little project. Now this was a project for the refurbishment of a cafe, and Fruition are the designers, and basically they developed the majority of the model, but I did actually finish off a little bit of the rendering and did some Twinmotion visuals as well, which I'll show you in a minute. But while we're focusing on the Vectorworks rendering, I just really want to show you some really cool stuff here. So I'm going to go to my set views. I've got a couple of set views to see a nice external isometric view. Let's just hop inside. So let's just work through these from scratch, and I would definitely recommend you learn some shortcuts for these. So obviously the wireframe is going to be by far the fastest mode to work in, but you can't really see what's going on. So the shortcut you want to learn here is Command Shift and G for shaded. So Command Shift G, let's do it with the keyboard, and you can see it's very easy to toggle between those two rendering modes using that keyboard shortcut. That's definitely one that I'd recommend everybody learn. Okay, so the very first thing I want to do is actually go into my shaded mode, and I just want to show you a couple of cool things. You can, in shaded options, turn off the textures. So if you just turn those off and let it regenerate, you'll notice it recaching the graphics and just re-rendering. So it does all the pre-computing. What you get is a very nice, almost kind of white cardy kind of look. Obviously I've got the edges on at the moment, which I can turn off as well, to get, almost like that kind of white card model type look with no materials, just the form. But if you do show the edges, you will notice that you actually get that nice definition. But you can actually kind of walk around. Let's get the walk through tool. Another good shortcut worth learning, Shift and U. It's a bit of a stretch, that one, but very, very useful shortcut. So this is actually really nice if you kind of want to walk around and just sort of talk about the kind of ideas and so on. A really nice little tip here is if we go over to our glazing and search for glaze in class, use our filters there, we can turn off our actual glazing so that you can kind of get that nice impression of what's happening outside. Let's do Shift U again, carry on sort of moving around our design. So now we've got this nice ability to move around in the sort of white card, talking about the form and the materials. Well, rather not the materials, so we don't get sort of dragged into debates about what colour the materials are. We're just talking about the arrangement of the space and the design of the kind of cafe itself. You will notice that if you do have a couple of colours in the model, then those will actually come through, and that is because these are actually, if I edit these symbols, probably going to be in a colour there. So yeah, that's right. So that comes through colour, even though there's no texture. If I just make it white, that'll be white there for those symbols there. So you notice that that colour can come through if you want it to. Okay, let's go back up into the shaded options again. If you actually turn the colours off completely, then no colours will show. So basically, even things with the colour, like the chairs and that kind of coffee maker, will come out as well. So you're just in completely white card mode, and as I say, nice the fact you get the shadows and things like that as well, but we can kind of move around in real time as we need to. So I really, really like this as a sort of early stage way of exploring your ideas and designs. But let's move along to the next stage, which is kind of showing those materials and those textures. So what I'm going to do, I think I'm just going to save this view so I can recall this at some point. So to do that, as ever, we just pop up to our save view, and we'll just call this, let's call this white card view. Okay, that's quite a nice little description there. By the way, you can obviously turn on things like the lighting and lighting on and off. So it looks kind of cool with the heliodons and the shadows on, I think, and things like ambient occlusion. Good, okay, so the very next setting then, we're going to go down to shaded options, and yes, let's turn the colours back on, and let's most importantly put the textures back on. Now I think I've actually got a save view of this already, so I might just jump back to that save view. Let's just see how quick that is to render up and put that back on. And if I jump through some of these set views, I just want to make a couple of points that you can sort of do these little animations between the views, which is actually very nice. And if you do want to, there's a way that you can actually slow that transition down. But just drop me an email if you want to know more about that. But however, look at the difference between this view and this one. Okay, so basically we're going from having edges on. All I'm going to do is just show you how I created that. So I go to shaded options. Just once again, I turn on the environmental lighting. That has a big impact. Environmental reflections. Object reflections, so look at the difference now. The environmental lighting does definitely make things a little bit darker, so if that's a look you're after, but look at the difference between the object reflections on those floors and look at these areas around the tables and chairs and things like that. So the object reflections and the environmental reflections make a huge difference. The other thing that makes a big difference, of course, is things like the heliodon. So I've just got a simple heliodon shining a bit of light into the project there. Now, bearing in mind, these are just OpenGL, as it used to be called, or rather shaded mode now, as we are. The fact we can kind of walk through in real time with this level of quality is pretty awesome. And one extra little tip, when you are in presentation mode, I really like the fact you can go up to this shortcut here, Command-Alt-Shift-H, hide enabled palettes. And basically that will take you into sort of full screen mode, and I can kind of walk you around, or the client around my design. Oh, look at these gorgeous reflections. I mean, some of it actually looks incredibly realistic, and those reflections on the floor, even in sort of shaded mode. And if you just spend a bit more time setting up the lighting and things like the materials, what you're going to find is you're just able to get some really great real-time sort of rendered shaded views just using the shaded mode. And of course, beyond that, you have all of the other rendering options like final quality RenderWorks, custom RenderWorks, and of course the redshift rendering as well. So check out some of my videos if you're interested in some of those rendering modes. But definitely, I absolutely love the level of detail and the speed at which it can handle really quite complex models. But look at that amazing level of detail, and you know, it really does come to life once you start putting in a bit of reflectivity and the environmental lighting as well. So I hope you've enjoyed this section on lighting and rendering and the new Vectorworks 2023. What fantastic improvements, and this has definitely improved my workflow massively already. Okay, right, so the next setting I want to focus on is the wonderful lighting. So we're going to go into shader options and we're going to turn these three on. So environmental lighting will now take account of what environment is outside. So you'll notice that it's gone a bit darker on the inside. Okay, so if we do go to background options, and maybe we choose a different type of background, let's just choose HDR white to begin with, you'll notice it's gone quite a bit brighter. So basically we're kind of like using the background outside to enhance the model. Now if we go down one more step, let's just go down and put environmental reflections on. Now we begin to see the reflections of the environment in the project as well, and it's looking a lot more realistic. Now just to show you that, if I go to RenderWorks backgrounds, and let's set that to be something a bit different. Let's go for, I don't know, something really dramatic like a sunset. You'll see, yeah, definitely looking a bit darker. Let's go for something a little bit in between. Well, I think we'll go for mostly sunny. Let's try this one. So you notice how that's kind of like a bluey light. It does have quite an effect on the model itself. Okay, so do bear that in mind. If you just want to keep it fairly neutral, I would go for the white background, or HDR white is quite a good one to choose. Okay, now next up, we've got the shaded options, object reflections. So let's just review these. There's the environment. Looks really different, doesn't it, with the environment on, much kind of more contrasty. Now the environmental reflections, so you get those nice reflections on the tables. But really, once you click in the object-based reflections, look at the difference on any shiny substances you see. So watch these tables and the floor particularly. So we'll click that on, and that's enabled now. So if you do want to kind of just enable that nice reflection, for example, let's do it on these lights. The first thing to do is I'm just going to double click into the light and find out what texture that material is. It looks like it's just got a, let's go to render, Okay, so there's Muto Orange Pendant. So if I basically right click, I can locate that texture. So there it is, that's easy. We can go right click and edit. So at the moment there's not really much reflectivity, it's sort of plasticky. Let's go for something a bit more like reflective, like metallic. Okay, and what I'm going to do here is I'm also going to set the colour to be the reflective colour. So I'm going to go for quite a nice bright orange colour. So you can see it's immediately gone quite reflective in the preview. You don't really see that unless you kind of change that to a sphere probably. Let's click OK and we'll just close down the resource manager. Okay, that's definitely looking a bit different, but it won't be until we come out into the model. Suddenly you see those nice reflections there. Okay, so let me just show you the difference there. Let's just turn on the object reflections off. Just watch these lights. Turn it back on. Yep, nice big difference. Okay, so this is very important. If you do want those reflections to come in, you need to make your surfaces much more reflective to kind of enhance that capabilities really. We'll do one more. Let's just double click into this material here and let's see what material that is. So it's the granite. So I'm going to go Command R and let's see if I can find that granite. I'm going to search granite. Let's use the search for this. Hopefully there it is. It immediately pops up and I can see which one it was. Let's go to edit. And at the moment it's got a mirror reflectivity. I'm going to go for that metallic one again. But I'm just going to kind of lighten up the reflective colour. I might go a little bit darker on this one and see what happens. You can't really tell until you actually kind of come out. And let's get back into the environment there. Yeah, no, it doesn't really seem to make a massive difference, but perhaps there are more reflections and a little bit darker the colour there as well. So, very cool. The new object-based reflections and shaded mode qualities here absolutely improve the rendering very dramatically. And what I really love about this is we can kind of still walk through pretty much in real time. You can see it's sort of recalculating those nice reflections. And as soon as we let go, it actually kind of refines as well, even better. So that's very, very cool. Oh, look at those gorgeous reflections on those tables. So if we had some nice sort of silverware or something on that model, that would really kind of pop, I think. Do a little spin round. Let's see if I can kind of just spin the view round. Don't forget, this is all just shaded rendering. You know, we could render these out at high quality animations, or we could move on to something like Twinmotion to do a bit more refinement as well. But truly incredible improvements in 2023 for the shaded improvements. So if this doesn't inspire you to crank up your 3D modeling and rendering with Vectorworks, I'm not sure what will. Yeah, if you've been waiting around for years and using SketchUp still, honestly, the time to move to Vectorworks 3D is definitely now. So what we'll do, we'll just finish off with a few of the Twinmotion renderings. So if you do want to take things to the next level, I cannot recommend Twinmotion enough. And of course that works extremely well with Vectorworks via the new Datasmith export or the Cinema 4D export. But we also have, let me just turn on my tools again, bring those back in. You also have the Unreal Data Datasmith direct link. And that's something that I'm really excited about. Now we've got this direct connection with Twinmotion for real-time rendering, where we can add people, trees, moving around sort of aspects and animation as well. So let's have a quick look at some of those to finish off this section of the tutorial. So as you can see, the real beauty of Twinmotion is the ability to animate absolutely everything, things like the people and the lighting, the time of day, the weather, and these kind of aspects. So I think that Vectorworks is a fantastic modeler, and I really like the rendering Vectorworks. But the real-time rendering that you're offered with Twinmotion or things like Unreal Engine definitely take things to the next level. So it's great that we've got this connectivity with the Vectorworks and Twinmotion and things like Enscape coming now as well, on the Mac as well as PC.